Hey there, Empowered Tribe. It's Angela T. Moore. You're getting ready to experience the next episode of Empowered, a health and wellness podcast where I share my personal journey of health and healing, tips for mental and physical health, interviews with health and wellness experts and those bold enough and vulnerable enough to share their own journeys to empower you to succeed in yours. We know that life can be rewarding. It can also be challenging. It has its ups and downs, highs and lows. I learned that with a strong mind and a fit body, you are better able to grow through and grow from whatever life throws your way. My goal is to share journeys of health and wellness, as well as tips and information from extraordinary people all around the world to help you live an empowered life. My next guest, Dr. Michael D. Lutz, is the president and founder of the MIU, Men's Health Foundation, and a urologist with the Michigan Institute of Urology. He has practiced in Metro Detroit, Michigan since 1986. In this episode, Dr. Lutz and I talk about the foundation's efforts to advocate for men's health, prostate cancer survivorship, and the health of family, friends, and loved ones that support those diagnosed with prostate cancer. With annual signature events, COGS and CAGs, Mulligans for Man, and Run for the Ribbon, the lives of man and those that love them are forever changed. I hope you enjoy the episode. Let's understand there's been an increase in prostate cancer diagnosis. This year, the American Cancer Society is predicting 299,010 new cases, of prostate cancer in the U.S., a rise from years past, 85,250 deaths. Prostate cancer is still the second leading cause of cancer death in American men. 1 in every 8 men will be diagnosed in their lifetime. 1 in 44 will die from prostate cancer. What are your thoughts regarding this increase?
Well, it's really concerning that we're finding more and more younger men getting malignancies. Particularly, we've noticed with colon cancer in the recent past with the American Cancer Society changing their screening guidelines from age 50 to now age 45, and likely one day soon will be age 40. So we're going to have to look at that with prostate cancer screening as well, particularly with men at risk. As you've already mentioned, men of African descent, other individuals at increased risk, whether you have a family history of prostate cancer, whether you're a fighter pilot and you have an increased risk, whether you're a firefighter and are at increased risk, any individual with an increased risk, screening earlier is going to be really, really important because we know that this disease is on the rise. And more importantly, more clinically significant disease is on the rise. We're not talking about the kind of prostate cancer that you don't really need to diagnose or the indolent disease that we place on active surveillance. We're talking about the prostate cancer diagnosis that could affect you in your lifetime and cause your demise and needs to be treated preemptively. So these are the ones that we're really in search of finding and how to screen better for it, screen smarter, and screen earlier.
Gotcha. Now, one question, obviously, with an increase in cases, can be one of two things. It can be because screening efforts have uncovered normally undiagnosed incidents of prostate cancer, or it could be that there is an increase due to maybe lifestyle changes, those things that you and I have talked about that we know, actually prior to starting today, that we know can help you live a healthier life, be healthier, live healthier long term. So which is it? Is it an increase in screening, or is the increase due to the fact that lifestyle changes are being avoided, or people are not taking as good care of themselves as they were previously?
So back in the late 70s, when the blood test, prostatic specific antigen, or PSA, was originally discovered and then implemented for prostate cancer screening, we had this incredible increase in the detection of prostate cancer because of the PSA blood test, where we went from 65,000 cases annually in the United States to over 250,000 cases annually. That number has leveled off for a number of years, and the type of screening has actually changed a little bit, partially affected by the U.S. Preventative Services Task Force change in the recommendations for not screening for prostate cancer. But I think we've now reached an equilibrium in the use of proper screening and how we screen for prostate cancer. So the increases that we're seeing now are really from significant increases in actual prostate cancer. And whether it's from a greater aging in the population, because we know that there's more prostate cancer as men get older, or is it from environmental toxins that increase the risk of prostate cancer? We don't really know. But we also are now seeing it, as I mentioned earlier today, about those individuals that are younger in age groups that are now being diagnosed with prostate cancer. So we're seeing it on multiple fronts where it's occurring. And so the concern is why is this occurring, and what can we do to help prevent it? And how can we detect it earlier so that these men don't suffer any ill consequences from the disease itself?
Gotcha. Now, you did mention specific populations of individuals, first responders, different. Can you talk a little bit more about that? Are there particular populations of men, specifically like African-American men? I know that you and I have talked about that, but also are there certain jobs or things that people do for their livelihoods that put them in greater risk for prostate cancer?
So we do know that African-American men have a higher incidence of getting the disease, having a higher stage of the disease at diagnosis, and having a higher risk of dying from the disease. So we know that this population of men needs to be screened more aggressively and treated a little bit more aggressively. And I know I'm not alone in the feeling that men of African descent are probably not good candidates for active surveillance. And if you are considering active surveillance, you better have a lot of good reasons, including some genetic data on that tumor, to make sure that you're relegating to the right treatment option. Other individuals would be if you have a first degree or multiple first degree relatives with prostate cancer. It can multiply your risk by 2 to 4-fold, depending on how many relatives in your family have prostate cancer. In addition to that, we know that firefighters are at increased risk for prostate cancer. And I've even seen that in some of our local fire departments where I've gone and counseled a number of the men there, where I have found that they have multiple employees who have prostate cancer within their ranks. And more recently, in addition to the effect of Agent Orange from the Vietnam veterans, but we're now finding that fighter pilots are also at increased risk. And more recently, just in the last year, there have been data that shows that the flight crews that repair the jets for the fighter pilots are at increased risk for developing prostate cancer. So we don't really know the limits of increased risk and exposure, but we do know that there are environmental exposures that can increase your risk for getting prostate cancer and having more aggressive disease.
Okay. Explained very well. Now, one of the things that I love is that I've had the wonderful opportunity to talk to you about the MIU Men's Health Foundation. And I understand, like before, you are recognizing International Men's Health Week, which is June 10th through the June 16th. And you're going to be doing so through your signature events, which I think do such a good job of really helping advocate for men's health and prostate cancer survivorship. Can you first talk about the significance of June 10th? Because I know that is a very significant day, not just nationally, but internationally.
So International Men's Health Month has been celebrated as June throughout the world since 1994, when our bipartisan Congress, believe it or not, actually agreed and passed a law proffered by Senator Dole at that time to actually put a stake in the ground saying that June will be International Men's Health Month and celebrated globally. International Men's Health Week is the week leading up to Father's Day. And so we want to kick off that week on Monday, which we now call Blue Monday for Men's Health, which is this year celebrated on June 10th. And the reason we celebrate it is because we want men to understand the importance of International Men's Health Week, not just for them, but for them and their families. Because the health of the male in the family signifies the importance of the health of the family as well. Because if you don't have a healthy male in the family, the health of the family suffers as well. And so we want everybody in the family to take good care of their health. And on International Men's Health Week, we want to focus on the men in the family. And also, because it leads up to Father's Day, we like men to have that conversation with their sons. We don't want men to take their diseases to their grave. We want them to share their story with their children and their family, because knowing your heredity, knowing your genetics is really important in understanding how to navigate the course of your health through your lifetime. And so Blue Monday Men's Health is something that we want to celebrate. We want people to share their story. That's our mission this year, is share your story because it might save a life. So whether you have a story of testicular cancer or prostate cancer, or in my case, skin cancer that I've endured, all those things that we've all experienced, we want people to share their stories so that somebody might just pay attention and actually make it their story and share it with others and might save their lives.
Now, also on June 10th, there is the COGS and CAGS event. Can you talk about that for those that may not be familiar with that very special event?
So for about 8 years now, we've created this signature cycling event within our greater Detroit community where people who are real cycling advocates, as well as people who just enjoy riding a bike for an evening, can come join us. This year, it's going to be in Birmingham, right next to Bistro Joe's at the Walgreens parking lot in Birmingham. And we expect about 300 cyclists to join us. And part of what makes this event so special is that we have a 10-mile and a 30-mile bike ride, but they're both police escorted. Many thanks to our Bloomfield Township Bloomfield Township Police Department. These individuals are wonderful. They are so passionate about supporting us. And in return, we love to support them. We love to support things that they do for the community because they're always doing something to help our community. And this event is just a great event. It's an easy 10-mile bike ride, very casual paced, or if you want to be a little more aggressive and go quicker, you can do the 30-mile bike ride. And at the end, we'll all celebrate and have a beer together and have a good light dinner and just celebrate an evening of men's health. And what's kind of fun about this event is that the age group of these individuals is much younger than our typical age group, say at our men's health event, which averages about age 50 to 70. These are typically young adults within their 20s to 40s who just want to get healthy and stay healthy. And so we think that this is a great message and a great way for them to help set the table of their health for the rest of their lives.
Now, will you be participating?
I always do. My wife and I do the 10-mile ride together. It's absolutely great. We have a great time.
I bet the energy is just amazing.
It is. It's electric. Everybody has so much fun. And when it's police escorted, it makes it to a whole new level because when you run a light and you know you're breaking the law, but the police are helping you, it feels so good.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Now, as I did my research in preparation for today's interview, I saw that the second event is Mulligans for Men, and I think that's a different name. Is that a different name?
It is. Andrea actually coined that expression, and it's in the middle of trademarking. I give her all the credit on that one. And now we're going to have an event that we're excited about that really does help us help our sponsors and partners in our community. It kind of brings everybody together for a night. Is a preamble leading up to our run for the ribbon at the Detroit Zoo on Father's Day.
Okay. Now, what can people expect during the event, the Mulligans for Men event? Because I understand that's at Top Golf, right, in Auburn Hills.
Yeah, absolutely. If you've never been to Top Golf, you need to go. It's a very different experience. It's not like going to a driving range. It's so much way more fun. You don't have to be a good golfer by any means. You're basically shooting at targets out in the middle of the range, and you keep score by which targets you hit. And it's just a lot of fun and a lot of kidding around. Everybody has a good time. And so we'll have lots of good food. We'll have some good drinks. We'll have a lot of laughter and celebration. And the bottom line is we're there to help raise money to help support the men of our community.
Yeah. Now, is it my understanding that the money that's raised during that event is going to be specifically set aside for the Men's Health event that is on September 21st?
That's correct. Virtually everything we do to raise money, if you were to look at our foundation online, we have our $9.90 online. You'll see that 97 cents of every dollar goes back to the community. We're absolutely obsessed with making sure that everything we raise goes back to the community. And our biggest community event, as you mentioned, is our Men's Health event at Ford Field on September 21st. Where we screen over 1,000 men in one day, and they get over $2,000 in value of free screenings. Basically, it's a head-to-toe physical exam without any of the invasive parts that they don't like. And so it's a wonderful day, and we look forward to putting this event and others together to help the men of our community.
Can you talk a little bit more about that event, Dr. Lutz? Because that's an event that I know anytime that I've had, well, I'll say that since you and I met, I have been very intentional about sharing the links and information and trying to encourage men that I know and even don't know. I've even encouraged random men that I just saw in passing and around the time of this event and tried to encourage them to take advantage of that event. Can you talk a little bit more about that event on September 21st?
So we invite men to come to Ford Field on that day, and our gates open at 9 a.m. and we'll screen probably about 1,000 men that day. We prepare to screen anywhere from 2,000 to 5,000 men. We are ready for that, and we would only love and dream and desire for that to ever happen. But the goal of the event is to try and get men in the community to take one day out of their lives to try and get healthy, because it's possible that they might end up staying healthy. And we try to do everything we can to bring them into the healthcare system and then keep them in the healthcare system. So we give a lot of opportunities at the event, not just for screenings, but for educational opportunities, how to sign up for different insurance plans, how to get free healthcare follow-up. Everything that we do is to get men engaged and to get them educated that day, and to also make it in a very non-confrontational atmosphere. And we tell people, don't even bring an insurance card. If you have insurance, great, we don't want it. If you don't have insurance, better off. You're going to get a great day of examinations and healthcare. And the whole event is really focused on just making it the best experience you could ever hope to have. And perhaps you learn something about your health in such a way that it'll actually change your course for the better.
I know that I have strongly encouraged all the men that I know, and like I said, even men that I don't know, to attend, because one of the things that you and I have talked about is oftentimes men don't go to the doctor unless they're sick. And so to be able to get like literally all your screenings that I think you would ever need within a year in one day, within a short period of time, I think you can't beat that. And I think it would be it's, I think, foolish to not take advantage of something like that, even just for the sake of time, not to mention how much money you would save.
Every year, about a half a dozen men will try and stop me along the way when I'm walking down the hallway at Ford Field and say, last year you diagnosed my prostate cancer, you diagnosed my thyroid cancer, you diagnosed my oral cancer. I mean, there's so many things. And I even had a gentleman the other day who then came back and saw me in the office and said, because of that men's health event, I dropped 30 pounds. So, I mean, people have used it as a point upon which to start off on a new foot. And it's really been a great rewarding experience. And not only for me, but for all of us who have either volunteered at the event or have sponsored the event or have partnered. Everybody walks away from this event saying, this is the most worthwhile day I could have ever spent. I can't wait to do it again.
Yeah, I love it. I'll definitely encourage the men I know and the men I don't know to attend again this year. Question. Very quickly before I ask you the next question, I want to talk about the Run for the Women event on Father's Day. Is it my understanding, I believe that just the event on September 21st is not reserved just for men. Like women and children can go, aren't there other events that they can participate in while their men are getting their screenings?
We do. We have lots of activities for the family if they should show up. We have food available at the arena for all the attendees. And then we also have a separate screening area for women who want to learn a little bit more about women's specific diseases. With materials proffered up through different organizations that we work with in the community.
Okay, excellent. I'm glad I asked you that question. Now, you alluded about the event, the Run for the Ribbon event, and I understand that the event, the Mulligan's event, is one of the ways that kind of leads into that event, that Run for the Ribbon event. Can you talk about the Run for a Ribbon event? Because I understand that, as you mentioned, it's on Father's Day, which I think is very timely. But I also understand that this is an event that has been going on, if I recall, since 2009. So why is this event so significant? And why do you believe that it is so well attended? Because I understand that, typically you have at least 1,500 people that show up.
We are so fortunate to host a run for prostate cancer survivors and their families that actually signifies one of the largest runs in the nation. And we are very excited about it because it's a very unique event, because it's an event that's not just talking about prostate cancer survivorship. It talks about the family and how we support men in the family. Because when men are diagnosed with prostate cancer, each member of the family deals with it in a very different fashion, whether you're a sibling or whether you're a spouse or whether you're a friend. You feel towards that individual very differently, and you support them differently. And what this event does is it brings everybody together on the same page at the same moment for the same cause and the same reason. And everybody celebrates together the same way. And they go for a walk or they go for that run. But whatever it is, when they cross that finish line, they know that they are truly celebrating another prostate cancer survivor. And what we do is we have along the course signage of individuals who are prostate cancer celebrants. And it's so common to see some family member go and hug the sign or grab the sign out of the ground and take it with them because they know they're with them, whether they are still alive or whether they have passed on and they're just celebrating their lives. Whatever the reason, they know that this is an important experience and they have to do it because it's something important to remember that individual by.
I love it. I love it. I can imagine that if you've been touched by prostate cancer or any disease, that you have been able to survive and you have your family members or friends, they are celebrating your life. And like you said, and even in situations where you're there celebrating the life of someone that has maybe passed on, it must be such a amazing experience for those people that attend. I imagine that the people, if they have not attended before, that their life is forever changed after their attendance.
Oh, absolutely. And there are so many family groups that have made this their annual ritual, that some people have been there 7, 8, 10 times in a row, just to celebrate this day and to celebrate that individual. And they don't even need to do the 5K run. They go just sometimes for the 1 mile walk in the zoo and enjoy that day together and join us at the finish line to celebrate them.
I love it. I love it. Now, I am sure you participate. Do other family members of yours participate as well?
It's great. It's really funny. So all of my kids show up in one way or another, and then I have my grandkids who show up, which is really kind of fun. And I'm really excited. And I think this year, now that I'll be retired, it'll be fun to have some of my patients who will be there to see them, for this one more time before I'm retired fully, and see them at this event. So I think this will be fun in so many different ways. It'll be a little bittersweet, but it's going to be more sweet than ever.
Yeah, definitely. Now, a question. You were quoted saying, and I want to make sure I read this well, prostate cancer affects more than just the man who is diagnosed. His family and friends also feel the effects as they share the worry and concern. The MIU Men's Health Foundation will not stop in our work to help more men earn survivor status. And I have had the honor of interviewing you on several occasions. And in each interview, I would say truly your passion for health and the health of your patients and all the individuals that you have helped through your organization. You have really, I know, saved lives, and I know that you've probably inspired many individuals to even live healthier and happier lives. Why are you so passionate, Dr. Lutz? Because it's one thing to be a physician. It's another thing to do all the work that you've done so amazingly in the community. Why are you so passionate?
When I started being a urologist in 1986, prostate cancer support groups didn't exist. Mm-hmm. And so we decided to form our first prostate cancer support group in the state of Michigan in 1989. And it was evident that it was so sorely needed because patients and their families, we had over 100 people show up every month for another speaker, another discussion, another topic. And so it became evident that we needed to do more. And just caring for patients in the office just wasn't enough. It was too sporadic. It wasn't continuous. And so we needed to find some way to give a greater continuum of care to the patients and their families. And so with the support group, that was the beginning. And then we came up with this annual run. And then we realized that doing a run is nice, but prostate cancer survivorship is really not just about prostate cancer. It's really about men's health. Because if men are healthy, they have a much better chance at surviving their prostate cancer. And so we had to look at all the tenets of men's health and what we could do to try and improve men's health and become more of an advocate for men's health than it is for prostate cancer survivorship. And that's how we morphed into a men's health foundation. And once you start doing these things, you just can't really stop because it becomes infectious. And you know that you're making a difference. And it's so reaffirming every time you go to a meeting or you run into somebody and they start telling you their personal stories, you know that you're being impactful. And so you need to continue doing what you're doing.
Yeah. Well, I just say, congratulations on all that you've done and all the many lives that you've impacted. You did mention that you are getting ready to retire. It must be so amazing to look back at all that you've accomplished, all the lives that you have touched, and be able to say, "Well done, well done."
Yeah, it's both. I have what I consider unfinished business. I have a couple of patients who I've walked through their prostate cancer survivorship, and I think of them often. And I think of those that I've lost over the last 30 years. And some of them were good friends. And that's probably been the hard part. So, it's for them. I always say that whenever you lose a friend or you lose a patient, you have to think of, you have to go on in your life to live for them because they're not living anymore, but you are. So it's your job, your responsibility to carry on for them. And you have to carry them with you whenever you're doing things. So as I do these events and do these things, I somehow believe that they're with me at these events, doing them with me and laughing or enjoying or sharing a moment with us so that we're all together once again.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day to spend with me, to once again share your purpose and your passion with me, and also to help me do what I'm very passionate about is increasing health awareness and trying to, as I mentioned to you, kind of bridge the gap between information, resources, access to services to those people within the community that can most benefit from them. So thank you for helping me do what I love to do as well.
And thank you for making it a great day.
Thanks for listening to Empower It with Angela T. Moore. Feel free to share this episode with someone you think would enjoy it. New episodes come out weekly. Follow our show on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you're listening right now.